Awakening to reality suggests an amazing trip to intricate structures that define our environment. This exploitation calls for bravery, as it shows that the real physical nature is full, with profound thoughts just waiting to be found. Science reveals something interesting. There is no clear operator behind our ideas or a control center, particularly in its relentless drive for understanding the secrets of the brain. Rather, what we discover are ephemerally moving electrical signals and ideas that let us barely see the richness of the human mind. This reality forces us to consider who we are really us if we are not this voice accompanying us. There is unsettling truth in neuroscience. Actually, part of our identity, which we consider to be real and strong, is a manufactured narrative illusion of continuity. This realization forces us to face a mysterious manager within our own mind, the silent saboteur. This imposter fools us by whispering words of doubt and hesitation. He looks like ourselves and fits our presumptions and recollections. The constant rereading of previous events pulsates across our brains, but we move significantly toward a better knowledge of our nature when we recognize we are the awareness observing instead than this voice leading us. This realization challenges our viewpoint on ourselves. Now science supports what various spiritual traditions have long taught us. The self we believe to be is not the real observer. This is a divide that could change our experience of life. The realization that we are the presence that observes unleashes a fresh level of self-comprehension and freedom instead of under control by this false narrator. This fresh view encourages us to go beyond the constraints of automatically based and historically anchored ideas. Realizing this motivates us to question the huge falsehood the complexity of our brains helped to propagate. Scientifically based, we may start to dissect these stories that confine us and learn to substitute clarity for uncertainty. This shift is a strong instrument able to alter life, not just a theoretical one based on academics. We create space for more deliberate decisions full of freedom and purpose when we reject the tales that constrain. Apart from the mental cacophony, this road cherishes the knowledge gained by direct experience as it leads back to the simplicity of life. Accepting this reality reaches the core of philosophy and personal self-discovery and transcends the realm of neuroscience. Free from the mental prison constructed by critical and demanding internal voices, gives us an opportunity to live more completely and to love more truly, free from the continuous restrictions of judgment. This knowledge leads us to a more deliberate approach to life. The realization that we are both the natural observer and the creator exposes a closer link with the cosmos and our actual place in it, and thus we may let ourselves to live with fresh conscience and freedom. We choose to embrace or reject the narrative those voices tell, therefore opening the path for a more peaceful life. This is an invitation to explore our inner self, acknowledge the brain's manipulations, but also honor the resiliency of the spirit that every one of us carries. Actually, realizing this difference may improve our quality of life and provide a secure environment for real reflection and calm. We seldom pause amid the turbulence of everyday ideas to consider who or what is really in charge of these sounds that resound constantly in our brains. Many of us accept without doubt the delusion that this flow of ideas determines who we are. Neuroscience tells us that this view is much more unexpected than first seems. Our true self does not live in a single spot in the brain. Rather, the way our brain functions is a spectacle of scattered signals, a ballet of electrical processes that shows and vanishes in an instant. Using the example of radio stations, We may see our ideas just as sporadic music playing background, which are not mandatory, but rather transient expressions of the brain. Our ideas are like automobiles in constant motion, much like a crowded freeway. They go different directions, speeding and slowing down. But the important issue is remembering that among uncertainty, you are not these vehicles. On the bank of the road, you are the calm spectator, watching the continual flow without becoming involved with it. This knowledge changes life experience by providing a fresh viewpoint. You are the quiet, attentive observer who notes the approaching and arriving of ideas without connecting with them. You are not your ideas. A major first step towards inner serenity and self-knowledge is this awareness. Meditating turns out to be a great friend in helping to calm this mind amid continuous agitation. People are still trying to stop their own ideas from flowing. Still, sometimes the error is in our conviction that these ideas represent our actual self. This myth may make meditation fairly difficult, as too much attention on ideas gives them greater strength instead of letting the serene mind show itself when there is no demand on perceiving or managing them. By means of careful observation and conscious breathing exercises, we may picture by seeing the automobiles from a crowded road, settling only in our rhythmic breathing. This technique helps us to find the one we really are, a peaceful and unquestionable presence that stays in the roomy distance separating us from our ideas. This knowledge presents a liberation option many of us never give thought to previously. From this place of quiet, we start to create room for greater clarity, continually developing the capacity to see without interfering. Changing our viewpoint not only helps us to connect to our ideas, but also guides our behavior with the surroundings. We provide ourselves the gift of choice when we realize we are not required to follow every idea or feeling that develops. Once acquired, the ability to discern which ideas are valuable and which one may be gently left away helps us to improve every sphere of our life. By means of this observing and detached approach, we acquire not just a quiet mind, but also a more focused heart. This transformation also brings us closer to each other and to ourselves. Compassion and patience follow easily when one realizes not every urge or worry requires attention. The mind is now a place of peace where knowledge may blossom rather than a battleground, fighting within battles. Benevolent and thoughtful observer of his own inner character, this is the actual self shining beneath the agitation. If we are ready to welcome the liberating viewpoint that we are observers and not the ideas that pass before us on the path of life, this is attainable for every one of us. Realizing you are different from your ideas opens a great insight. This view lets you be a silent spectator of your mind, which is where a subtle but profound change happens. Science reveals that our own nature starts to alter when we adopt a calm, observing posture and free from opinions regarding our ideas. Realizing how this quiet observation exercise helps the mind to become clear and serene lets us see the world from a fresh and clearer angle, almost magically. Imagine yourself guiding and controlling your mind instead of being a captive of regularly occurring automatic ideas that rule our day. This revelation not only changes your perspective, but also directly affects your everyday life. It is clearly clear that we are not slaves to the relentless cacophony the mind may generate. Actually, we are the calm observer who determines which ideas should be given priority and which may be put off. This idea has great changing power, even if it is simple. Unused noise may be left behind with constant practice. allowing a lighter and more concentrated mind space. Every instant you look at your ideas free from judgment is a moment when you make a decision. These combined decisions have the ability to bring about actual and notable changes in your life. Imagine a situation which we can change the surroundings just by watching. This is a reality every day, confirmed by those who engage in the art of mindful observation. It is not just a philosophical concept. As we go farther on this path of knowledge and practice, we discover how the little act of observation could directly change our reality. Understanding this is a great gift. The knowledge that our essence resides in the tranquil area that sees their development and disappearance rather than in fleeting ideas. Observation without judgment turns into eventually a useful habit, a tool for creating a more harmonic existence. It becomes also rewarding. Experimenting with this shift of viewpoint results in a sensation of liberation, as we are free from the chains of impulses and stories that an unconscious mind provides us. This practical knowledge releases the emotional and psychological weight, lightens the path to more deliberate and aware responses to daily events, therefore opening doors to a more complete and fulfilling way of life. Being the observer also teaches us the knowledge of relationships as we get more sympathetic and empathetic to others. We increase our capacity to listen and really connect with others when we release the automatic judgment of our own ideas. Anchored in acceptance and mutual care, this inner transformation is shown outside as better and more genuine relationships. Including this idea into our everyday life invites us to develop a sense of present that turns our shared events into remarkable chances for development and happiness. It is the basic understanding that our mental cosmos is flexible and can be changed anytime we so want to see, complete and free from criticism. As awareness of our ability to really create a more fulfilling reality and linked to our true purpose, living with meaning and purpose with every new day, expanding platform of our existence becomes evident. In quantum physics, the double slot experiment is an amazing show of how simple observation may change reality. In this experiment, two small slits allow tiny particles such as electrons to pass through them. These particles behave like waves when there is no observation, produce an interference pattern on a screen, and show the feature of having passed both slits concurrently. But particle behavior changes drastically as soon as an observation is recorded. They start to behave like tiny balls, creating a new impact pattern on the screen, as if they had decided to pass only one of the slits. This scientific discovery questions our accepted understanding of reality by implying that observations themselves might influence findings. Though first confusing, this concept emphasizes a priceless lesson for each of our life. Our ideas behave like observation in an experiment does. When one concentrates on anything, reality forms in its surrounds. When nothing is paid attention to, reality stays in a condition of ambiguity, open to many paths. This viewpoint comes from something many of us have previously personally experienced, albeit unconsciously. Two individuals could go through the identical incident, but see it in somewhat different ways. One sees a difficulty and becomes concerned. The other finds an opportunity and gets a surge of drive. This variation results from everyone seeing the circumstances with a different eye that reflects their expectations and inner convictions. The human mind operates in same fashion. When one is emphasizing negativity or failure, this is what usually shows up in the experienced world. The emphasis on what we do not want draws more into our life and starts a never-ending loop wherein we validate our limited views. But when we decide to focus on optimism and the chances right around us, we start to see these possibilities opening themselves more often. This phenomena shows the need of a deliberate decision on what we will concentrate on our mental energy and notice. Our ideas are like windows through which we see the happenings of the world. Their quality shapes the reality we come across. From this vantage point, our existence serves as a mirror, relaying the stuff we store within to us. Thus, by changing our mental habits, we may efficiently shape the environment around us more in accordance with our actual goals and wishes. Knowing this link among observation, cognition, and reality helps us to create a space of personal emancipation. We understand that we actively co-create our experiences. We are not at the will of chance happenings. This view gives us the chance to accept responsibility for our life and choose more deliberately where and how to concentrate our attention. By means of this combined practice of complete attention and purpose, we may change our relationship with the universe and enable you to live in line with our best potential. Scientists and philosophers alike agree that we live in a smart and intricate simulation and wonder whether the cosmos we live in may be such an advanced structure that misled intelligences for millennia. There is interesting data supporting this view. From the strange behavior of numerous mathematical constants that appear to pervade all fields of nature, there are hints that this world may very well be controlled by a kind of programming. This begs the issue: can we once leave a simulation if we are really living in one? Better yet, how can we investigate this matter to our benefit? When we consider the power of observation, as shown by the well-known trial experiment, we can clearly see that it has a major and quantifiable influence on the world we live in. This insight helps us to see how our own consciousness may interact with this conceivable simulation, transforming and shaping the reality we make for ourselves by means of concentration and deliberate attention. We come across the potential of our mental decisions and focuses not only to lead, but also change the experiences we experiencely encounter as we see this world as a great experience of augmented reality. But accepting this provocative fact also helps us to take ownership of our life. Knowing that worldwide simulation is possible does not mean that we have to flee our responsibilities in the actual world. On the other hand, this knowledge should motivate and help us to enable the development of constructive changes in our surroundings. The secret to this is to live with a well-defined goal and an engaged awareness that can challenge and separate ourselves from behavioral habits we see as natural, but in reality, they may not truly represent who we are. Living really may sometimes involve straying from a program we felt was inevitable, but now we see it as manipulable. Though we are in a simulation, our identity and the way we interact with those around us are modeled by deliberate, real choices. Our decisions have weight and significance that directly influences our way of life and experience of our trip throughout cosmic theater. This helps us to see the inherent worth of every choice, as even in a simulated environment, one may live fully and deliberately. Discover how we may gently alter the framework of our own simulation allows us to reimaginate reality as a palimpsest, where we constantly inscribe fresh experiences on a flexible substrate. Realizing the great opportunities that present themselves when we open our hearts and minds to really perceive, the ultimate adventure is completely and deliberately experiencing the cosmos given to us, rather than a mere desire to escape. Every decision we make not only shapes our present, but also helps us to create the future we like to see, realized by means of open, deliberate living in the great show of life. It is interesting as we can use this information to bring greater awareness and intention to our life, as knowledge of observation may influence reality, and the concept of living in advanced simulation helps us to apply it. Many of us live autopilot, repeating patterns without ever really participating or finding significance. Changing this viewpoint means that we should focus on what really important and choose deliberately in line with our fundamental beliefs and goals. First of all, one must establish a complete attention practice. It teaches one to be really present, to avoid getting caught by programmed distractions and ideas. Here, meditation becomes a very effective instrument. Yet, it is not the only approach to reach this presence. Simple daily activities like purposefully seeing the surroundings or really listening to another person during a discussion can help for this. These techniques help us to combine our ideas and actions so that we may more successfully mold reality in line with our actual wishes. An additional essential component of this process is regular personal reflection. By means of it, we may identify our true calling in life and separate between the external demands pushing us from actual aspirations. Developing a really genuine and fulfilling path depends on this awareness. We start along a road that really counts and fills us when we can separate our true aspirations from the expectations of others. Deliberate action follows naturally from this new broadened awareness. Decisions taken with purpose interrupt the old cycles of negativity or self-destructive behaviors we used to fuel with instinctive ideas. This fresh technique fosters not just a surroundings-enhancing cheerfulness, but also of wealth and well-being. Learning to question limiting ideas and worries also helps one to see chances for personal development and lifelong learning within these obstacles. Really connecting with others deepens our self-awareness. Growing real and important connections feeds and enhances the human soul. These relationships provide a priceless support system where learning and personal development are encouraged and blossoming. These interactions help us to frequently uncover mirrors of our own paths, therefore exposing even more chances for self-discovery and personal development. We are ready to mold our own and remarkable form of simulation as we organize these activities, thus building a life full of meaning and direction. Ongoing investigation of these concepts not only helps us to become more aware people, but also makes us active creators of our own reality. Through this conscious journey, we become not only passive players of life, but also active makers of our destiny, ready to welcome the next chapter with fresh hope and confidence. Personal transformation stories highlight the very favorable effects that intentional observation and conscious living may have on our life. Anna's, a marketing professional caught in a monotonous and unchanging pattern, devoid of a clear direction or goal, is one of these tales. Anna started a regular meditation and contemplation practice and started to identify patterns of thinking that until then guided her to make instinctive judgments. This fresh insight let her question accepted wisdom and start to reinterpret her path, both personally and professionally. Anna has bravely chosen to pursue her actual love for supporting small companies to grow sustainably within this review of her priorities. She started a specialized consulting that not only made her happy, but also had a real good influence on the surroundings. Another remarkable example is Peter's, an unquestionably gifted guitarist who was always under internal criticism. These uncertainties kept him from exhibiting his works to others, therefore linking him to a paralyzing cycle of insecurity. Pedro started to face his fears by realizing their source once he started the habit of seeing his ideas without evaluating them. He